let's start with the question of the day. The question is explain the statement question. The question here is good governance is incomplete without e-governance. So there is one term in your syllabus, good governance. There is another term in your syllabus, e-governance, and it says that explain that how is good governance incomplete without the e-governance. How is it incomplete without e-governance? That you will have to explain. So if I have to say what are the key terms in the question, the first key term is good governance, the second key term is incomplete, the third key term is e-governance, and the fourth key term is you explain. So good governance, incomplete, e-governance, and you'll have to explain. A very important thing here is the instructional word explain. Okay, it is not equal to elaboration. One is different, one is elaborate. Elaborate, that you only tell about this statement, you only talk about this statement. However, in explain, you can go a little beyond this statement. Yes, you can go, we will see this. What does the word explain fit into this question? So with these keywords, good governance, incomplete, e-governance, explain, let us see what is the question about. Question किसके बारे में है? Question is on good governance. The question is on e-governance. The question is on how is good governance completed by e-governance. Question is what is the question about? The subject matter. The subject matter is good governance. The subject matter is e-governance. Approach, क्या पूछ रहा है? That good governance is completed by the e-governance. E-governance completes good governance. ये पूछ रहा है. One of the mistake that the students do in this question is they mechanically stick to the question. ठीक है? They will simply elaborate. That good governance is incomplete without e-governance. ठीक है? Mechanically sticking, बस इसी को समझा देंगे, कोई counter viewpoint नहीं देंगे. They will not give any counter viewpoint. You'll have to give the counter views also. Okay, that okay, yes, one is good governance, one is e-governance. You need e-governance for good governance, but is e-governance panacea for good governance? If you just bring e-governance, will you assure good governance? No. That is what you call as explain, wherein you also tell that there are some counterpoints also. There is something more to good governance also. E-governance is one parameter. There are other parameters also that are important for your good governance. So one mistake is mechanically sticking to the question. That should be avoided. And at times student does not even have the idea of what are the parameters of good governance. I am not saying that the question may you keep on elaborating the parameters of good governance, but at least know what is good governance. What are the parameters that makes governance as good? What is World Bank's definition? Okay, a very important definition and parameter has been given by World Bank. Okay, so try to think on those lines while you are addressing this question. I would repeat the question. The question is, good governance is incomplete without e-governance. Yes, you need e-governance for good governance, but you need much more than the e-governance. That was what you need to do. And how do you write? How do you structure this? What is the structure for such question? So the structure for this question is, just if I read this question in detail once again, the question is that good governance is incomplete without e-governance. Explain. So good governance is not complete without is incomplete without e-governance. What is the demand of the question? The demand of the question is, what is good governance? The demand of the question is, what is good governance? What is e-governance? You should know this. Without knowing good governance, without knowing e-governance, you cannot answer this question. The major demand is how e-governance helps in promoting good governance. How will e-governance help in promoting good governance? The third is, what else is needed? what else is needed to promote a good governance. सिर्फ e-governance से good governance नहीं आ जाएगी. So you should know what is good governance, what is e-governance, why, how does e-governance complete good governance, and what else do we need to promote a good governance. That is what the question is asking. That is what the demand of the question is. However, you should also know that what are the mistakes that a student does. We've known that mechanically sticking to the question, not knowing the parameters of good governance, and what the question is not asking. The question is not asking about the components of good governance. What are the components of good governance? It is not asking, but at least you should have in your mind. You should put it in the diagram. Though it is not asking in detail, try to put it in the diagram, the components of the good governance. And it is also not asking what are the tools used for e-governance. What happens is people, good governance dekha, they will simply write the parameters of good governance, or they will completely skip. You will have to make a mix of it. Okay? And what are the tools of e-governance is not asked. They will simply write B2B, B2C, B2G. Okay, that is something that has not been asked. How do you introduce? How do you introduce? The introduction is define good governance. Yes. What is the question? The question is good governance is incomplete without e-governance. So first, what is good governance? Define it. Then you can also in the body define e-governance. Then you explain how e-governance promotes good governance, and you explain this with the help of examples. Every time try to put examples in ethics in 2-3 lines, and then you conclude that there are other factors that are essential for the good governance. So there are some other factors which are essential for the good governance that also you will have to keep in mind. Now with this structuring, let's look at the question. Let's look at the question and the answer. Very important for you is sticking to the word limit. Many times model answers are like the student, they don't know how much to write. Very important, please stick to the word limit. Otherwise, you will end up ruining your time in the examination. Give average time to every question. Give equal proportion. And if you don't know 1 or 2 questions, utilize that time. Okay, do not actually, keep on writing even if you don't know. Okay, so this is the way a model answer we are presenting. Why? Because in market you will not have the feel. These are the handwritten answers, and if you can write this much in your examination, it is more than enough. You don't have to feel bad about that I have not written that much. It is not feasible to write the model answer type that are given there in the market. So have a feel, look and feel of, see, the introduction, the diagram, the body part. This much if you write is more than enough for your examination. Let's look at the answer. The answer here is that the good governance is incomplete without e-governance. Explain. So good governance is incomplete without e-governance. If I say the definition, you can start with the definition of World Bank. What does World Bank says? World Bank has defined good governance as the manner in which power is exercised. The manner in which power is exercised in running the economy, in running the country, in running the social parameters of a country. So what is good governance? Good governance is the governance of the country on the good parameters. So what are the parameters? We will see this. But what is good governance? Good governance is the manner in which a country is governed, or the manner in which the power is exercised in the management of the country's economic and social resources for development. Each country goes for development. Each country wants development. And for development, there are certain people who exercise power. The manner in which the power is exercised will define whether the governance is good or bad. So good governance in simple 2 lines, it is the manner in which the power is exercised so as to manage country's economic, social resources for the development, right? Year in. Then after this you write the parameters. What are the parameters? The parameters can be learned by a short form. The short form is PART. The P stands for participation, A stands for accountability, R stands for rule of law, T stands for transparency. ठीक है, then it is CEER. Then it is CEER, that is consensus oriented decision making. The decision making should be by consensus. E is effective and efficient. The governance should be effective. The governance should be efficient. Now another E is equitable and inclusive. Equitable, okay, give the vulnerable section more opportunity. It should not follow equality, it should follow equity. Equitable and inclusive. R is responsive. It is, the government has to be responsive to the changes. So the short form is participation, PARTCEER. Participation, accountability, responsive, or the rule of law. So the rule of law, you know from your polity knowledge. The T is transparency. This is fairly easy, nothing much to explain there. Another is consensus make decision making. One leader should not make all entire decision. It should be the consensus based decision making, like we have it in our country, right? Then it should be efficient. We all go for efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. Fast governance has become good governance, so it should be efficient. There should be equity, okay? There should be inclusiveness. Okay? It should be effective. So any for 2 for E you can go, and R is the responsive or the rule of law. Responsiveness means that we are ready to change. We are responsive to the change. So the parameters of the good governance are PARTCEER. With this, what we have done is, in the introduction, we have defined that good governance means the usage of the power responsibly, and these are the parameters of the good governance. ठीक है? Then you can say e-govern. Now coming on to the body part. The question was, good governance is incomplete without e-governance. What is the body part? The body part may you explain e-governance. You can explain this, you can skip this. If you explain, it is like the examiner को आप बता रहे हो कि यार, if you don't know e-governance, I will tell you. ठीक है? So e-governance is the use of ICT for the better information and service delivery. For better information, for better service delivery. See now, for better participation in the public affairs, for promoting good governance. ठीक है? We know now the parameters of good governance: participation, accountability, responsiveness, transparency, consensus made decision making, efficiency, equity, and the rule of law or the responsiveness. So now you will have to think, ये parameters को ध्यान में रखते हुए, you will have to think that how does ICT fulfill participation? How does ICT fulfill efficiency? How does ICT fulfill responsiveness? How does ICT fulfill the transparency? So you'll have to think on these parameters. You know good governance, you will know e-governance. What is the linkage? That is the challenge of the question, developing the linkages. So e-governance is the use of ICT. What will ICT do? It will make the government more proactive, participatory. ठीक है? You know about the e-filing of the income tax participation. It will make the government governance more transparent. ठीक है? Transparency बढ़ जाएगी. It will be more efficient. So see how ICT is leading to this parameters, and try to substantiate with the example, like the RTI citizen charter. ठीक है? There has been e-RTI. You can file RTI. You can demand accountability on the fingertips. ठीक है? So e-governance is promoting the good governance. How? Now here the important thing is, make the answer very visible for your examiner. Very visible for your examiner. You know these parameters now, right? We know these parameters now. So now we will try to write on these parameters. We will see how e-governance will now fulfill these parameters. So first is efficient and effective and responsive. So e-governance promotes good governance. This is the first heading. Effective, efficient, responsiveness. How? There will be simplification of the rule by the e-governance. There would be streamlining of the processes. Then you can write that e-governance makes it more transparent. Why? Because it will bring public in front of public. It will bring the financial and the non-financial information. It will demand proactiveness. So this is the heading. You have already told the examiner, you know the parameters of the good governance, and now you are saying that, see, how does this e-governance promotes efficiency, how does e-governance promote transparency, and then you explain how does e-governance promotes accountability, how does e-governance promote equitableness and inclusiveness. Okay? So you try to explain this. You explain that the accountability, the effective use of the effective management information system, this will promote accountability. Okay? You say that ICT facilitates the use of effective management information system. So in management information system, this is used effectively if we apply e-governance to it. Okay, this will promote performance. Performance can be measured by e-governance. There will be accountability of the public service functionary. So there is accountability with the help of e-governance. If we say equitable and inclusiveness, how is e-governance promoting inclusiveness, equitability? Because there is reduced cost of accessing the information. 10 रुपए में information ले लो. Equity का ध्यान रखा हुआ है. सिर्फ you are not giving the information only to the rich. पहले तो information was only available to the rich person. So now e-governance has reduced the cost of information accessibility, and this has also promoted, this is in the concept of the equity. Example, for example, the Bhumi project of Karnataka. In the Bhumi project, what happened? The land records were digitized, they were computerized, and everybody was given a copy about their rights. So it led to right-based governance, it led to participatory governance. Okay? Everybody has the information now. So now, because of the e-governance, because of digitization of the land record, there has been participation, there has been accountability, there has been transparency. So Bhumi, there are n number of examples that you can write. But in ethics, don't make it a GS answer, that for every point you have an example. This is an ethics answer. Even if one example, two example, which is elaborated enough in 2-3 lines, will be sufficient. Okay, then coming on to what should be the conclusion. In the conclusion, you can write about, so we are talking about how good governance is incomplete without e-governance. So you can, in the conclusion, you can say that e-governance is a tool to implement good governance, and this can be effective. E-governance is promoting good governance, yes, but it can be effective only when the public exercises the rights, the public is proactive. Right, the government is also can also change. It is vulnerable to the problems, like if there is attitudinal issue, if the bureaucracy has attitudinal issue, any law can be bypassed, any initiative can lose the momentum. So what is important? Yes, good e-governance is important, but before e-governance, we need ethical person, we need proactive person, we need aware citizenry. Then only e-governance will be used for promoting good governance. So e-governance is a tool to implement good governance only if other reforms like right sizing of the government functions, changing the policy, changing the attitude, decentralizing the administration, civic engagement, they are implemented. So if the citizen is not aware, if the citizen is not proactive, if there is attitudinal issues, no matter whichever law you bring, no matter whichever initiative it bring, it can fail. Right? So what is important is changing the hearts and the minds of the people. Okay? Empowering them. So that is why for good governance, e-governance is good, but you need other reforms as well. I hope you liked the video. Stay tuned. All the best.